that it is not going to kill the mice. So here the mice lives or mice survives. It is not going to be dead. Now the second experiment, what he did, he took a live S strain, and again the same thing he did. He again injected into the mice. Right, we are going to inject the, basically what we are doing is we are infecting the organism, infecting the host organism, which is going to be mice, with a particular type of strain. Now when he did this, he injected the S strain, the mice was actually dead, or mice actually dies. Okay, mice is going to be dead here. Now we all know that when we are going to heat anything, right, we are going to heat the substance, for example water, it is going to kill the microbe. We all know that. So taking that as a clue, what he did, he then used heat killed a strain bacteria, right? So of course there is no point in living R strain, right, or heat killed R strain, because anyway they're not killing the mice. So he found that if he's going to inject the mice with living R strain, it is going to kill the mice. So what if he is going to inject the heat killed S strain? Now what is going to happen? Heat killed means the microbe is actually going to be what? They're going to be inactive. So ideally they cannot kill the microbe. So here when he's going to inject that into the mice, again what is going to happen is the mice is actually survive. It is not going to die, it is going to survive. So at one point of time when he's going to use a heat killer strain, the mice survives, right? So it is pretty clear from here till now. Now what he's going to do is he's going to combine some living R strain. He thought, no, whether we can have some living R strain that is non-virulent and your heat kill S strain together. Of course, when we are going to combine the living R strain and living S strain and put it together into the mice is going to be dead, because it is the S strain that is going to anyway kill it, right? It is the mice is going to anyway die. Now, the fourth one, let's first, second, third, and fourth. Let's talk about the fourth condition. Fourth condition, what is going to have is we are going to use the live, or the scientists use the live R strain, which is non-virulent, and he combined that with the heat killed S strain, right? So living R strain with heat killed S strain. So imagine, in this condition, what do you think should happen ideally, based on these three experiments, based on the previous three trials of the bacterial strain with the mice? What do you expect to happen in
Sir, I
this
have a
case?
doubt, sir.
I'm sorry,
Will leave,
The
sir.
don't go to
mice
the,
live, sir.
yes, yes. So if we go simple to the conclusion, ideal condition based on if these three, what we think, it should, the mice should ideally survive, or mice should actually live. That is our ideal condition, that is what we expect to happen. But reality, what
Yes,
happened, you know? Reality is when he did this, he found that the mice did not survive. The mice actually died. The mice here dies. Okay, the mice is dead here. It is unusual, it should not happen, right? It should not occur that a living R strain, which is typically non-virulent, and a heat killed S strain, which is also non-virulent because it is of course it is dead, it should not be able to kill the mice. But in a interesting way, what has happened, the mice, instead of surviving, it dies. So the conclusion, what is the conclusion that Griffith came into? It is an experiment. So obviously he had an idea that, there's something getting transferred. So finally he came to the conclusion that somehow here, right? Let me write this. So he thought that somehow this living R strain is getting transformed, right? So here the R strain is transformed into S strain, right? So that is very important. So somehow what we are saying is this living R strain that we had in this case is getting transformed into S strain. The bacterial strain that was unable to produce R strain, that is unable to produce the additional mucus polysaccharide layer, is somehow now able to produce a polysaccharide layer. And that is the unique thing, that is the surprising thing that happened. And because of that, he said that there is transformation is taking place, and something has to, be involved to make the transformation. And this is where he used the term, right, transforming principle. Right, he said there is certain transforming principle that is involved in conversion of this living R strain into S strain. And only in that case, remember, only in that case, if it is going to be a living S strain, then the mice can die. So are you clear? Are you clear what I'm trying to say in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anyone is having any doubt in this? You can use the chat also. Anyways.
No,
So,
sir.
okay, very good. So now I'm going to share a particular, the PowerPoint only, so that you can see the same thing presented in a particular way. Anyway, so point is actually how, how he come to the nose. We are expecting, I'm simply telling you that, when the mice dies because of the S strain, I'm telling. So obvious question is, you might ask, sir, how do you know, or how did the scientists know that it was actually the S strain that caused the death? It might be because of some other factor also, right? So to confirm that, when the scientist took this mice, right, in this experiment, in the fourth experiment, the mice is dead. So when you extract the mice blood, right, and find out what kind of bacterial forms are there, instead of finding the living R strain and dead S strain, he found the living R strain here. Sorry, living S strain here. And only then you can conclude, then the scientist concluded that yes, somehow there has been a transformation, because he found living S strain in this mice blood when it is extracted. I hope I'm clear on that. So I'm going to share
Excuse
you
me,
this.
sir.
Yes.
So what is the help of mucosal layer?
Again, we don't need to go into that details. These are two different strains. Help in the sense that, see, different organism, different strains have different type of adaptations. And if you know that there are something called gram positive, gram negative also, it is the adaptation to the way they have actually developed over the years. So let us, again, if you talk about that, it's going to take a lot more time. Right now, let us understand that we are going to have this additional mucous layer that is having some additional property to them. See, very simple thing. They are having virulence property that they are lacking, right? So this additional layer is going to help in the virulence property of the microbe.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sure. Let me open the file. Okay, molecular biology. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, we are here. I think you can see the screen now. Can you all
Yes,
see the
sir.
screen? Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go to full screen now. Yeah, so you can see the Griffiths experiment here, right? So here there are going to be pneumococcus, or there is a streptococcus pneumoniae, right? In this we are going to have this capsule, right? That is smooth appearance of the S strain I called, and then we have the R strain. There is no additional layer. So injection, as you can see, living S strain, the mouse is going to die, and living R strain, right, the mouse is going to live, and heat kill strain, the mice again lives. But when we're going to combine both the living R strain and the heat kill strain, somehow the mice die, right? And when the mouse is going to be injected with the heat kill S and R strain, we know that the mice is going to be dead. When we extract the blood, what we find, or what the scientist found, is a living S strain bacteria, as you can see here, right? So he found that there are going to be living S strain bacteria recovered from the dead mouse. And in other word, what we're saying is the mice was dead because of the S strain, and somehow the R strain that was living has been converted into the living S strain. And what we said there, the R strain of bacteria has somehow been transformed into the S strain of bacteria. So that is what you have to understand, is the transforming principle. And he said that the transforming principle, he did not know about the chemical characterization, right? He did not know whether the transforming principle is bacteria or DNA or RNA or something else. He just said there is something, right, that is transforming, but what it is, what is the chemical nature, that nobody could, or that at that point of time, Griffith could not explain, right? So the chemical characterization is going to come from another a group of scientists, right? So chemically, what are they, right? So there were three scientists, McCarthy, MacLeod, and Oswald Avery. So these are the three scientists who actually characterized the biochemical nature of this transforming principle that we are talking about, right? Did you understand this transforming principle or Griffith's experiment? If yes, we can move to
Yes,
the next
sir.
one. Okay.
Understand, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes, understood.
Very good. See, it's not very difficult. It's very easy actually. And based on this, they ask 3-mark questions or part of 5-mark questions, which you can easily write in the examination. And whatever the condition may be, I think this entire chapter is very important. And most probably, at any cost, they will not remove these concepts that I'm going to teach you in the next few days. So, just learn this properly. So we'll go, as I said, we'll talk about the next concept, and that is going to be biochemical characterization of the transforming principle. So anyone knows DNAs, RNAs? Have you heard of that term? DNAs, RNAs?
Yes, sir.
You have heard of that? Any idea? Any idea what they do? Any idea on what they do?
So the transform genes.
DNAs and RNAs? Not exactly. Anyways, I'll tell you that.
So transferring genetic materials.
Not exactly.
They are enzymes.
Yes, they are perfectly. They are enzymes. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So we are talking
Help
about
for hydrolysis.
yes. So biochemical nature of transferring principle. As I said, there were 3 people: Oswald Avery, right? Then you have McCarthy and MacLeod. I think my spellings are correct. If not, again, I'll just confirm that. So these 3 scientists, what they found, what they did actually, they provided an experimental proof to Griffith's experiment, right? Now, why do I say that they are going to provide an experimental proof to Griffith's experiment? Because what Griffith said, or Griffith's experiments that is going to be on transforming principle, he could not explain the biochemical nature. He could not say whether it was DNA or protein, as I was talking about. So what they did is very simple, right? They extracted the blood. They extracted the blood of the dead mice, and they're going to inject that into a living R strain. Now, when they injected that, okay, for example, I'm going to put it here. So you're going to have an living R strain. Okay, and to this living R strain, they injected them with different combinations, right? For example, the R strain along with, right, one second. So we have the S strain that is extracted from the dead mice, S strain, right? Yes, S strain along with DNAs, for example, right? So when you're going to combine the S strain along with DNAs, now remember this DNAs, right? They're going to cleave or they're going to degrade DNA molecules, right? So when they're going to have the S strain, the biomolecules of the S strain, all the biomolecules, right? Okay, I'm going to clearly tell again. So when we're going to take the S strain, I'm going to extract the biomolecules from there. Biomolecules means the protein, the DNA, right? And the RNA, and we're going to treat them along with DNase. Now, DNase is a enzyme, as you said, and it is going to degrade the DNA molecule. Now, when they did actually expose this to the R strain, there was no transformation, right? So R strain did not transform into the S strain. So definitely the DNA here, if you're going to add the DNA here, it is not able to transform it. What does they did? So they used another case. So in first case, they added DNAs. In another case, they added the RNAs, right? So now RNAs, what they do? They actually degrade the RNA molecule, right? So when used the RNAs, or for example, another molecule that is called, that is called the protease. Now what protease are? Protease are the enzymes that is going to degrade proteins. There was actually transformation. So I'll again clarify that. So what they did is very simple. They have taken the S strain and they have extracted all the biomolecules. Now the doubt is whether the genetic material, whether the transforming principle, let's say, whether the transforming principle is DNA, RNA, or protein. These are the things that we have to ask. So what they did, they actually used molecules or enzymes that can degrade each one of them, and they're going to find out individually which one is able to transform without any problem. So when they use the RNAs and the protease, RNA is going to degrade all the RNA and protease is going to degrade all the protein. So now the entire biomolecule that we are talking about of the S strain is going to be consisting of only DNA. So when you're going to have the DNA only without the RNA or without the protein, it is able to transform the R strain into S strain. Right? So transformation of R strain into S strain takes place when we are going to have the DNA intact. Now, why do I say with confidence? Because when we are going to use the same thing, right? We are going to have the DNA, RNA, protein, and in that we are going to leave the protein and RNA. All right. Here, when you're going to add the DNAs, right? In this case, here the RNA and protein, they are present. Remember, they are also present here. But because we are degrading the DNA altogether, there is no transformation, because we know today that DNA is the genetic material. So at that point of time, when they degraded the DNA using the DNase enzyme, there was no transformation. But when they did transform, when they did use the RNAs and protease to degrade the RNA and protein and left the DNA intact, right? In this case, what we have here, we have the DNA intact. Right, we are having the DNA intact, and this DNA was able to transform the R strain into the S strain. Right, so that is what the transforming principles biochemical characterization done by McCarthy, MacLeod, and Oswald Avery. So this is what you have to understand with the biochemical nature of the transforming principle. But of course, again, with these method, scientists were not happy, right? They said that no, we don't accept what you're saying, right? So to actually give a the next set of experiment, right? There was another set of experiment, and this experiment came in the form that was done by Hersey and Chase. So again, these two scientists, Hersey and Chase, they actually performed another experiment with the help of radioactive molecules, right? 32P and 35S. 32P means the phosphorus here, we are going to use not the normal isotope, but it is a radioisotope, radioactive isotope. And for the sulfur, instead of using the regular sulfur, it is the 35S, that is your radioactive sulfur is going to be utilized. What is that? We'll see that in a minute. But again, this is the transferring principle. Any doubt with this, students? Transferring principle समझ में आया कि नहीं?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt
Yes,
with
sir.
transferring principle?
No, sir.
Clear? Should we move to the
No
next?
doubt.
Okay, good. Should we move to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
Good. So I am going to continue here. So Hersey and Chase, what they did is something very simple. Right, today it looks simple, but that time it must be very complicated to get it done. So what they did, they used, okay, we are going to have exactly 10 minutes. I'll give the basics. Next class we'll continue. So what they did is actually they used, again, bacteriophage. Now, anyone can tell me what bacteriophages are?
The virus that attacks bacteria.
Excellent. Viruses that attacks the bacteria. So we know that when a bacteriophage, or for example, let me remove this part. So when a bacteriophage is going to infect, or infect, for example, a virus is going to infect a cell, the virus is going to release the genetic material, right? So when a virus infects a cell, the virus is going to release the genetic material, and they're going to use this cell, right, this particular infected cell, as a viral factory, right, or viral assembly line. That is, they keep on making new viral particles using the cell's mechanism. So we all know that we know this is basic. Now the virus, when they're going to infect the cell, and in this case we're going to talk about the bacteriophage, when it is going to infect, right, the bacteriophage infect bacteria, it is also going to release the genetic material, right? So here they have to find out, by now it is sure that it is, right, they have to find out here, Hersey and Chase, they have to confirm whether it is a DNA or it is the protein that is the genetic material. They have to confirm, right, whether it is a DNA that is the genetic material or it is a protein that is the genetic material. And they have used the bacteriophage to infect the bacteria. And here what they will do is they will grow this bacteriophage, right? This bacteriophage is going to be grown in two different media. In one of the media, they're going to use radioactive isotope of 32P. 32P means here the phosphorus is 32. Now, can you tell me out of these two biomolecules, right, DNA and RNA, which one of this is going to be your radioactive isotope, or which one is going to contain the phosphorus in it, DNA biomolecule or RNA protein biomolecule?
DNA.
DNA.
We all know that DNA is going to be made up of the phosphorus, right? So now any any virus or any phase that is going to be grown with this radioactive 32P, they are going to be having DNA that is radioactive. Agree? Agree or not?
Yes,
If I
sir.
grow
Yes,
a
sir.
bacteria, if I grow a virus that is going to grow in a in a media or in a condition where the phosphorus available is only radioactive 32P, radioactive phosphorus, the DNA that is going to be synthesized is going to be consisting of the radioactive phosphorus. So in other words, the virus which is growing in a media containing this 32P is going to have a radioactive DNA. Similarly, if I grow the virus in a media containing the 35S sulfur, now sulfur we all know is going to be part of the protein. Okay, they're going to be part of protein. So when I grow them in a media, virus is growing in a media containing radioactive sulfur, here the protein, remember the virus's protein is going to be radioactive. So if you remember, bacteriophage in class 11 you have learned, right? Hexagonal structure, right? Right. Remember something like this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And we have the genetic material in the center, and these outside layer, right? This outside layer, this is going to be your protein, and this one is going to be your DNA. And here, as I said, depending on what medium we are growing them in, right, 32P or 35S, they are going to contain, they are going to be either radioactive in the DNA or radioactive in the protein. Now what we do, we allow them to grow in a media, we allow them to infect the bacteria. Now when you infect the bacteria, of course they're going to go and sit on the bacteria, and once they sit on the bacteria, what they will do, they release the DNA. And for that, I'm going to now share the screen quickly. I'm actually follow, your people are able to follow. Right, what we did, we have grown the bacteriophage, remember, bacteriophage. So on the first one, it is grown in 35S. 35S means what? Here the protein it is shown in red, the outer capsule. It is going to be radioactive. On the right side, 32P. So here the DNA is radioactive. Now we allowed them to grow. We allowed them to infect the bacteria. Now, when we infect the bacteria, as we know, they are going to release the genetic material. And then we blend. Blend means what? We mix them so vigorously so that the cell, the bacterial cell, is going to be free from the phase particle. What has to enter has entered, and what is not entered, right? For example, this part, the outer layer, they're going to be removed. And finally, we are going to centrifuge them, right? And when we centrifuge them, what we found is the phase that was having the radioactive 35S, that is the protein was radioactive. In that case, the supernatant, what do you mean by supernatant? Supernatant means is the liquid part, right? The top part, liquid part. That supernatant was radioactive, and the pellet, the sediments, right? The cells where they are present at the bottom, that were not radioactive, and the cell contained the DNA. Remember, the cell contains the DNA. So the supernatant is going to contain the DNA. Sorry, supernatant is going to contain protein parts, and the the cell, the pellet or the centrifuge, they are going to contain the DNA. On the right hand side, what did we get? Where we had taken the 32P, all the DNA was radioactive. We found that here the radioactivity was detected in the supernatant, sorry, in the pellet part, and not the supernatant. So here what we are saying is, here the cell that has received the genetic material was actually radioactive, and we know that here the DNA is actually going to enter, and the DNA was actually radioactive. So in this case, when we had used the 32P, that is the DNA was radioactive, that DNA entered the cell, entered the bacterial cell, and that's why here the cell actually turned out to be radioactive when we centrifuged, and the supernatant that was consisting of the protein, it was non-radioactive. And based on this, it was a conclusive evidence on the fact that it is actually the DNA that is being passed on from one organism to the next one for the transformation or for the passing on of the genetic material. So this is how they are done, Hershey and Chase, the experiment. Now, how many of you got a basic idea on it? Could you understand this? Hello,
Yes, sir.
students. Could you understand
Yes,
this?
sir.
Confused, sir.
Confused?
Little
Yes,
bit.
sir.
Little bit confused,
Confused,
right?
sir.
Okay,
Little bit.
no problem at all. We have a class on Monday again, right? So on Monday's class, again, we'll start the entire thing on Blackboard, step by step, on how they have done it and what they have got it. I know today the time is short. We already have only 1 minute left, 2 minutes left. That is why I've just gave you the brief idea. The first part you should have understood, the radioisotope thing, right? So next class will actually go through the entire process on how they have done the experiment and what has actually happened. And after that, once I explain you that, if you see this particular image, you will understand it. Excellent, no problem at all. So with that, I think we're coming to an end. So I'm going to first stop the share here. Yeah. So again, I'm going to upload this video. Morning I had uploaded the class 11 video. Now I'll upload this video, and some of you are asking, so I'll upload these videos and share the link in the group, so that if you're still having doubts and if you need the help of this video, you can use it. Anyway, there are a lot of material on the internet, and you can go through that also. There are animations on that. But again, if you still want this class, I will record. It is already recording. The first part is not recorded in this. Some I have forgotten to do that, but I will upload it so that you can have a look and read these concepts. Today itself, you read this Griffith's experiment and the transforming principle, biochemical nature, and this part. Try to read it. Tomorrow again, day after tomorrow again, we'll have the concepts on this. So by the next class, what you do, you make notes on this. So today's homework, I will post it in a group, is very simple. Experiments of transforming principle and biochemical nature by these three scientists, and diagram of the Hasse and Chase experiment for Monday. You finish that on Monday.